The avoidant has cycled through relationships with a detachment that suggests nothing truly touches them. They move from connection to connection, never fully investing, never allowing anyone to become essential, always maintaining the escape route that protects them from genuine vulnerability. But then they encounter someone who disrupts this pattern completely. You are not just another person passing through their carefully managed relational life. You are the one they recognize as different, as significant, as the person who could be their final choice if they were capable of making one. The avoidant sees in you the end game, the person they could settle with permanently. And this recognition both draws them toward you and terrifies them in equal measure. You represent the life they actually want. When the avoidant looks at you, they do not just see who you are in this moment. They see the future they have always claimed they did not want, but secretly craved. They see stability without suffocation, partnership without loss of self, the possibility of building something lasting with someone who does not trigger their deepest fears. You are secure enough that being with you does not feel like drowning. You are independent enough that they can maintain autonomy. You are patient enough that their patterns do not immediately destroy what you are building. The avoidant recognizes that you could be the person they finally stop running from, the relationship that does not end in their typical pattern of withdrawal and abandonment. This recognition is powerful because it suggests that their perpetual search for someone who fits could actually end with you. You are not a placeholder. You are the destination they have been avoiding reaching their entire life. They cannot imagine replacing you. The avoidant typically operates with the belief that everyone is replaceable, that no connection is so unique that it cannot be found elsewhere. This belief protects them from the vulnerability of admitting someone matters. But with you, this logic breaks down. They try to imagine meeting someone else who offers what you offer, and they cannot. They recognize that your specific combination of qualities, the way you handle their patterns, the security you provide while respecting their need for space, is extraordinarily rare. You are not perfect, but you are perfect for them in ways that feel impossible to replicate. This irreplaceability terrifies them because it means that losing you would be a genuine loss, that walking away from you means walking away from their best chance at the relationship they actually want. The avoidant who sees you as their end game knows that if they sabotage this, they are unlikely to find it again. You are the person they bring up in future planning. The avoidant rarely thinks concretely about long-term future because commitment feels like cage. But when you are their end game, they begin to imagine futures that include you, not in vague ways, but in specific scenarios. They think about where you both could live. They consider how careers could align. They imagine what life could look like 5 or 10 years from now, with you still in it. These thoughts might not be verbalized, because verbalizing them requires vulnerability the avoidant struggles to access. But the mental space you occupy in their future planning reveals how deeply they have integrated you into their long-term vision. You are not a temporary distraction or a casual connection. You are the person they are building toward, even if they cannot admit it yet, even if they are still too afraid to fully commit to that vision. They are more afraid of losing you than anything else. The avoidant's core fear has always been engulfment, losing themselves in another person's needs and expectations. But when you are their end game, this fear shifts. The greater terror becomes losing you, watching you walk away, seeing you choose someone else who can show up in ways they struggle to. This shift in primary fear is monumental for the avoidant. It means their attachment to you has grown strong enough to override the attachment wound that has governed their entire relational life. They are more scared of your absence than they are of the vulnerability your presence requires. This does not mean they suddenly become emotionally available or that their patterns disappear, but it does mean they are willing to fight their instincts to run, because losing you feels worse than facing the discomfort of staying. You make them consider change they have always avoided. The avoidant has spent their entire life convinced that their patterns are just who they are, that change is unnecessary because the problem is always other people expecting too much rather than them offering too little. But when you are their end game, they begin to consider that maybe they are the variable that needs to adjust. They think about therapy for the first time, or actually schedule the appointment they have been postponing. They read about attachment theory not to diagnose you, but to understand themselves. They contemplate what it would take to show up differently, to be the partner you deserve, rather than the partner their fear allows them to be. This consideration of change is extraordinary. The avoidant does not entertain transformation for people who are temporary. They only consider the painful work of healing when someone has become important enough that losing them to their own patterns feels unacceptable. If the avoidant is thinking about changing for anyone, it is because that person represents the end game worth becoming better for. They introduce the possibility of forever without saying it. The avoidant who sees you as their final one will not declare this with traditional relationship and escalation or explicit conversation about commitment, but they will communicate it through subtle shifts in language and behavior. They stop talking about themselves in purely singular terms and begin using we more naturally. They make plans further into the future than they typically allow themselves to project. They talk about things they want to experience and include you in those aspirations automatically. They stop keeping one foot out the door and begin settling into the relationship in ways that suggest permanence, even if they never use that word. These subtle indicators reveal that in their mind, you are not just a current partner, but potentially the final one, the person they could actually commit to if they can overcome the fear that has prevented them from committing to anyone before. Why being the end game does not guarantee they will choose you. The tragedy is that recognizing you as their end game and actually choosing you are not the same thing. The avoidant can see clearly that you are the best option they will likely encounter, can understand that losing you means losing their chance at the relationship they actually want, and still be too afraid to fully commit. The fear of vulnerability, the terror of being truly known, the panic about losing themselves in partnership. These feelings can override even the recognition that you are their final one. Some avoidants will rise to the occasion, will do the work required to become someone capable of the relationship you deserve. But others will sabotage their own endgame, will walk away from the person they know they could build a life with because the risk of trying and failing feels more unbearable than the certainty of remaining alone. You can be someone's endgame and still watch them choose the familiar safety of their patterns over the uncertain possibility of lasting love with you.